Hello and welcome to Indielens, putting the focus on independent business. I'm Dan.
And I'm Elliot, and on this one-time special we're going to be exploring the world of independent business in Portsmouth. So let's get started.
In this show, you will gain an insight into independent business in Portsmouth.
We'll see how the independent business scene has changed over the last few years.
Also in the show, we'll be visiting several independent businesses within Portsmouth to discuss their stories, how they run from day to day, and how they have a positive impact on the community of Portsmouth.
The independent business scene is not all carefree, and we'll also be taking a quick look at the potential issues and problems faced by these businesses.
Finally, we'll be having a special guest joining us in the studio to discuss how their company, Nest, gets involved with the independent business scene and how they can help you set up an independent business of your own. But first, just so we're all on the same page, a business is considered independent if it is completely free from outside control. More often than not, they are owned by just one or a couple of people. To oversimplify things, in the world of business, independents are the little guys.
So let's talk about some of the changes that have affected independent businesses over the last few years. Portsmouth has seen a dramatic increase in new businesses being registered.
Indeed it has. In fact, I found out that from 2014 to 2016, there's a 34% increase of businesses registered. So from 2014 to 2016, that's almost an increase from 600 to over 2,000, which is huge.
Yeah, that is a massive increase. And after doing some research, I found out there have been many different facilities that have been set up in Portsmouth to help these new start-up businesses. For example, we have Enterprise First, Solent Growth Hub and Nest.
So what is Nest?
Well, Nest is an organisation designed exclusively for students at the University of Portsmouth. They pride themselves in developing and building student ideas and supporting the growth of new independent businesses.
Well, as Nest is such a good example of an organisation that can help start businesses, we wanted to find out more about them. So we invited them down and they'll be making an appearance later in the show to discuss the work they do. But before that, let's talk about independent retailers in Portsmouth.
So let's start by talking about some of the issues that these independent retailers have. Overall, independent businesses continue to grow in numbers. In 2016, over 14,000 new businesses were registered in the county.
But unfortunately, figures suggest they weren't around for long. According to the British Independent Retailers Association, or BIRA for short, for every independent business that opened that year, there was almost an equal amount of them that closed.
Just in Portsmouth, many retailers have opened and closed over the last 6 years. And these include a lot of businesses that you may still remember.
Like the Book Corner, that was open for 4 years, or Orion Leisure, which is open for 2 years, even Porter Grill, which is barely open for 4 months.
However, last July we saw the full extent of Portsmouth's pride in their independent retailers with a month entirely dedicated to them. Independent Retailer Month aims to impact the retail sector using fun activities and events. These serve to connect consumers and their communities to help further their interest in shopping with local independent brands.
Independent Retailer Month runs annually throughout July to highlight the important role smaller local independent retailers play in the communities they serve, the local economy they contribute to, and in the retail sector as a whole.
The UK campaign is currently run by retail expert Claire Rayner. She's founder of Support for Independent Retailer, a source of support, advice, ideas and inspiration to help independent retailers and consumer-facing businesses to open and stay open.
The end result of the campaign is a positive boost for the local economy and the community. Whilst the campaign runs for just a month, the vision is to help change consumer habits for the long term.
More recently, in December of last year, Portsmouth City Council supported Small Business Saturday UK. This is a grassroots, non-commercial campaign which highlights small business success and encourages consumers to shop local and support their small businesses in their communities. The day itself takes place on the first Saturday of December in each year, but the campaign aims to have a lasting impact on small businesses. This gives a chance for smaller businesses to have their time in the spotlight. The council even offer free parking across the city for the day.
One of the biggest industries that benefit from events like this is independent fashion. We sent Azan, a member of the Indielens team, to visit Dresscode, an uncompromising, unconventional indie clothes store on Albert Road, to find out more about how their business is run on a day-to-day basis. Let's take a look.
I'm here at Dresscode today to talk to Lynda Fitzgerald, the owner. Can you give us a little insight into the business?
I started in '96. I've always bought and sold vintage clothes.
Would you say that Albert Road is the cultural hub of Southsea?
Yeah, I would. It's not the only one. The whole of Southsea's pretty cultural. There's a Castle Road, Elm Grove, but yeah, very much the subcultural road of Southsea.
What would you recommend for other small businesses starting out?
I would recommend that you start small and don't get yourself into lots of debt, because that really weighs you down. So just start small, put it back into the business, a bit bigger. That's what I did, because you're forever paying off a debt, really.
Have you noticed an increase in the number of businesses starting up and closing down on Albert Road?
There's always been a lot of start-ups and closing. I think it's because it's nearly all independent shops. Nobody's got a big cash flow, so whenever times are hard or there's a recession, it seems like we're always the first to go. And it seems like it's always the first place to regenerate, and start up shops get snapped up pretty quickly. It changes all the time. For example, the Emporium over the road is just closed and it's becoming a bar, but all the small shops inside it, 3 different shops have been taken along here and are now trading on their own.
After 22 years as a business, how do you strive to stay relevant in this inhospitable market?
I'm not competing with the mainstream. This is a very alternative store, so that helps. And the sort of alternative word doesn't change so quickly. And I've always been on the alternative scene, so I know what was sold in the 90s because I was wearing it.
If your business had to restart today, do you think dress code could survive?
I think I probably wouldn't get a shop if I started today. I think that is the honest answer. It's so much easier and cheaper to start online because of all the outgoings of a shop. So say I managed to get a cheap lease, but it's up to the landlords, isn't it? And you hear all the time people going under because the rents have increased so much. So honestly, I think I would probably just do dress code online if I was starting all over again.
So from whereabouts do you source your stock from?
Well, a lot of the crafts and gifts are made by local people, so we sort of showcase local crafters, give them somewhere to physically sell their stuff. People come to me, and because it's well established here, either with records or clothing, and just say, so can you sell that for me? Do you want to buy that? So it's sort of, always evolving and always changing.
One of the most interesting things I found out about dress code is that such an unconventional and unique store can not only stay open for a decent amount of time, but also build a decent reputation and gain popularity within the community.
Yeah, and I have done some research on this. According to the Federation of Small Businesses, or just FSB for short, almost 100% of businesses in the UK are considered to be independent or small. I found out that for every £1 spent at an independent business, over half goes back into their local economy. And according to Times magazine, this is twice as efficient compared to larger franchises at keeping money in the local economy and businesses.
But remember, independent businesses don't just help the community financially. There are also many cases where independent businesses have brought people together and create new groups within the community. For example, Strong Island Media, a Portsmouth-run design company.
They recently worked with Ben Ainsley's team, along with local schools within Portsmouth, to create art murals and encourage creativity born and bred in the city. Strong Island Media describe themselves as proudly independent, and they love to showcase the art and culture of Portsmouth.
And while on the topic of art and culture, the Aspex Gallery in Gunmoff Quays is another business in Portsmouth with an interesting history.
Absolutely. Having been around for over 35 years, the Aspex Gallery started off as an independent business, but in more recent years it's become a charity, with over 80% of its finances coming from donations.
So we dropped in to have a chat and get a look into why their business is now a charity and the interesting work they do.
My name's Tony Spencer. I'm the Exhibitions and Gallery Manager at Aspex Gallery in Portsmouth. My role here is to programme an annual exhibitions showcase, working with contemporary artists. Well, Aspex started out as part of Artspace Portsmouth as a gallery in Borough Road in a converted church. Artspace Portsmouth still continues at the same venue, but now it's a studio space for artists and a gallery. So it has a legacy of showcasing international artists in the region in Portsmouth and also supporting local artists, and as a gallery that's supported by the Arts Council and funded by the Arts Council, and Portsmouth City Council has an obligation to showcase art to the general public. And also we purchased a van, which is a mobile learning resource that goes out to the communities and out to other festivals and events such as the Victoria's Festival. Yeah, I think that the ethos of Aspex has always been, as a charity, has always been to support the arts and support the arts in the community. So that's the value of Aspex. That's its mission, to show art and show the process of art making to the community, and let people get involved as widely as possible, any age range, anybody who's out there that is interested in producing their own work, or generally in having a look what other artists are producing. As an organisation that is a charity and is funded by the Arts Council is funded by the general public of Great Britain, through the lottery. So it's a sort of a two-way process, I suppose. It's a relationship with the community and with the, a sort of a space within this region to showcase creativity and for that to be nurtured and developed. I think with the commercial side of things, Aspex recognises that there is only so much charitable funding out there available, and is very grateful for the funding received from the Arts Council and from Portsmouth City Council. However, as an organisation, it demonstrates that it can raise funds to match that funding that's available as a charity. And through that, the initiatives are, like you say, sort of commercial sales of local craft makers, local makers of jewellery, for example, and then also supporting a space for other events to take place as a higher space, and also for a space that offers desk space, office space for local businesses that are in the creative industries. Aspex, I mean, it has the potential to grow as a business. I think that could be an off-site outreach, a collaboration with other creative businesses in Portsmouth. Anybody who wants to start a business, my advice is to keep a sort of a strong, positive sense of what you want. Keep your passion really alive. Don't worry about any challenges and disappointments, because that's always going to happen. If somebody's got a strong passion to do something, then they're going to succeed in that, because there's always room in the world for people to share those kind of creative passions.
So we've now covered many different aspects of independent business.
If you'll pardon the pun.
And it's time for a quick break. We'll be back very soon to continue exploring more of the independent business scene in Portsmouth.
When we return, we'll be taking a trip down to Bread Addiction on Elm Grove, a small and popular bakery. As well as this, we'll also be having our special guest coming in the studio to discuss how you can set up your own independent business. So, don't miss it.
Hello and welcome back to the show. Now, we've talked about how independent businesses have helped the Portsmouth economy as well as the local community.
In a little bit, we'll be introducing you to Lynda Povey, a representative from Nest, who will be discussing the steps you can take to create your own independent business.
Looking at the dates, it seems there's a precedent for independent businesses closing shop with shorter and shorter lifespans. But why is this?
Well, it's hard to say why. One possibility is the change in the retail trends. Basically, over the last few years, more and more consumers are no longer going out and buying their items, but instead they're using their phone to get it instead, be it a cab from Uber or dinner from their favourite takeaway.
Another reason could be the increase of rent prices across the UK as a whole. In fact, over the last 19 years, the average price paid for property leapt by 260%.
Whilst the average salary only rose by 70%.
However, one business that is still going strong after 2 years is Bread Addiction on Elm Grove, an artisan bakery that prides itself in making bread that's organic and simple. This has worked very well for the company that's become extremely popular over the past couple of years.
We found the history and story behind Bread Addiction to be unique and interesting, so let's go and take a trip down there and find out more.
My name is Nikki. Me and my partner, we're coming from Czech Republic. There wasn't any good bread available in Portsmouth, and we started to bake our bread at home. The idea to open Bread Addiction came, I think, 2 years after we've been living here. We have been here just for a summer job. Probably it's 9 years ago right now, between unis. We knew one of the friends have been in a Portsmouth, so obviously it's always easier to start in a different country if you know at least one person, and that's how we ended up in a Portsmouth in the first place. And when we decided to come back to start a new life, the choice was obviously Portsmouth because we already knew the city and we loved the city. We just literally seen the gap in the market, and the idea was maybe one day to work together, open a little cafe. I realized how successful this bakery is when we speak to the customers, and they telling us really nice things, how proud they are, you know, we're here. When you're working every day in a bakery, usually what you're thinking about is about the production, how things working, you know, if the quality of product is up to the standard. So you don't realize it on everyday basis. You want your business to be successful, so you're opening the business with the idea to be successful, but you never know what's going to happen in the future, isn't it? It's only prediction, and we've been hoping for success, and I think it happened. My dream was always kind of run business, because there is a background in the family. I think the time when we opened the bakery was probably a bit easier than it would be right now. In terms of business and location, we've been very lucky to find the location where we are right now. We would open bakery again in this time, but it could be much harder than it was 3 years ago. You just need to be really focused on what you want to achieve in the future.
Now, we've almost looked at all elements of business. However, one piece of independent business we haven't looked into is how to start one from scratch.
Some people have no idea how to start a car, let alone a whole business. So, what do you need to do to start a business? Well, if you don't have the answers, there are people that do, like the people at Nest.
Nest is an organisation that works in tandem with the university to help students create new startups or improve them to the next level. And there are many companies and websites like this all over the UK, as we mentioned earlier.
Where Nest shines, however, is the ability they have to break down the steps of building a business in a way that is easy to understand for newcomers. They also provide drop-in sessions to provide one-on-one assistance and workshops to teach important skills you will need in the future.
As they're such a beneficial organisation to the community, we thought we had to talk to them. So joining us in the studio now is Lynda Povey, a representative from Nest. Welcome to the show, Lynda. Thanks for coming in. So we thought we'd better start at the beginning. Why was the Nest organisation formed?
So Nest was formed on the back of what has always been student and graduate enterprise support at the University of Portsmouth. The university's offered support in various forms for many years. But then a couple of years ago, we decided actually we needed an identity to bring the community together. And we spoke to some students, we got some ideas out on the table, and the Nest identity was formed from there.
So why do you think it's really important to support independent businesses?
It's all about opportunities and growth, really, I guess. You know, if we can support them at the very early stages, and then we can go on to support them as they grow and as they develop. So that leads into regional economic growth, to national economic growth, and so on. So providing opportunities as well.
And so someone would come to you at Nest with an idea. What would you say are the key steps about getting an independent business started?
So so people come to us and say, "Oh, I've got an idea. Don't really know what to do with it, but I know I need to get my business cards and my website." And we sort of say, "Well, actually, before you even start doing that, you've got to get your concept sorted. You've really got to know what it is you're offering, be able to communicate that clearly and succinctly to people, and you know." Is it a business idea? Do people want it? Will people pay money for it? And is there a need for it at the end of the day? And by doing your market research, you can understand that better. And that's where you start.
Do they have to have a plan? Do some people come in without a plan and then you say, sorry?
Yeah, most people we see come without a plan, and that's absolutely fine because they've got an idea, but they don't know what to do with it or where to go. So it's our role to help them take it from conception all the way through to reality.
Yeah. And Nest has been quite successful since it started. What makes this success? Is it the facilities? Is it the people that work there? Or?
It's a combination of both.
Right.
Yeah, it is a combination of both. And not even the people that work there. It's about the actual start-up companies and the people themselves that are going down that journey. The start-up community, particularly in Portsmouth and the university, is a really supportive environment to be in. And people who have been there, they know how hard it is and how challenging it is. So they're willing to support the next sort of tranche of people coming through. Yeah,
well, as Elliot said, that Nest is very successful. But what would you say is the biggest success story of Nest?
Yeah, that's a really difficult question, that one, actually, because we do have so many and they're all so successful in their own ways. We run something called a self-employment placement year, so between the second and third year, students can go out and develop a business in that year. We've had students who have set up quite a simple, you know, a business model, a cleaning company, but in that year they've employed 16 people and they've franchised out to 2 different places around the UK. We've got people who have set up 2 businesses within a year, very different types of businesses. One particular graduate, he didn't come through Nest, but he did come through Student Enterprise in its previous reincarnation. And he runs a company called Party Hard Travel. So he was named as in the top 30 people under 30 in the travel industry.
Wow,
and they were sponsoring Love Island during the adverts last year. So done really well.
So how many people would you say that Nest helps on average, say, a day or a week?
A day, it really varies. So like today we've got a programme on called Entrepreneurs Lounge. So we've got about 40 people in Nest today listening to an expert speaker about how to fund your startup. We see on average a week around about 10 new people each week that have got a business idea.
That's a lot of people.
But then we do the mentoring on top of that as well. So quite a few.
So we're in the city of Portsmouth. There's a lot of businesses. Would you say that independent businesses, Portsmouth is a good place for independent businesses to start up?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a really great community for starting up a business.
And obviously, you look at places like Elm Grove and Albert Road. They've got a lot of shop fronts and independent businesses there. Do you see them staying around, or do you think that they're threatened by, say, the internet or something?
No, I think there's always that threat of the internet at the moment, but actually it's that personal service that people love, and I don't think you can ever move away from that in a small community. And Portsmouth geographically is quite small, so I do see them being around for the long term, absolutely.
So, I know it's quite a difficult question, but what bit of advice would you give to someone, or the key bit of advice would you give to someone who's starting up a business? What do they need to do? Do something you love. And honestly, we hear it a lot, but actually it is tough. It's not rocket science, but it is tough starting up a business. So it's got to be something you enjoy doing. Absolutely,
and the rule of thumb, they do say, make sure you've been doing it for at least a couple of years, so you know that you enjoy it. That's what will drive you.
We touched on earlier the fact that independent businesses might not be lasting for as long, and we mentioned some companies such as Orion Leisure. Wasn't it? Why do you think they are shutting shop slightly earlier than they used to be?
I think particularly in this city as well, there's not the strength of support for the growth stage. We have great support for that startup stage, but I do think we need to work as a community on supporting businesses as they develop and they grow. So that's about building a stronger infrastructure and giving other opportunities and for places for businesses to base themselves as well.
So, a slight change of topic. What would you say what's the best thing about working for Nest? What's the most satisfying thing that you get out of it?
Just the ideas that come through and seeing the journey that people go on. And even if those businesses don't succeed, which is often the case, actually just seeing the change in people, and the confidence grow and the belief in themselves. So,
And just with independent businesses, how much do they add to a community? What would Portsmouth be like without them?
Huge amounts. Oh, I think
Yeah.
it would be quite a dull place to live. There wouldn't be the opportunities for the young people coming
Yeah.
through. So yeah, they've got huge amounts of value to offer. Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Lynda, for coming
Yeah, it's
in.
been really interesting to
Learned a lot about that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, that is all we have time for today, but we have learnt a lot about the different elements of the independent business in Portsmouth.
We hope this show has helped you to understand the importance of independent business and how it helps both the local community and economy. We'd like to give a thank you to all the independent businesses that are featured in this show, and a special thanks to Lynda Povey and the Nest team for making an appearance and helping out.
Feel free to like us on Facebook by searching Indielens Portsmouth, and we hope you have enjoyed the show. I'm Dan.
And I'm Elliot, and this has been
Indielens.
Thanks for watching.